Hi everyone, my name is Cindy and I'm an Australian homeschooler. Today I'll be walking you through Essentials in Writing. Essentials in Writing is a writing course for grades 1 to 12. It covers grammar and composition and is delivered in a video format. The child watches an instructional video by Matthew Stevens, the founder, then completes a lesson in their workbook. Its premise is that it uses a systematic step-by-step approach to enable even the youngest students to produce sentences, paragraphs, and then essays. So let's have a look at these books. So I've got levels 3 and 4 on the table. This one's edition 2, so that's the current edition, and in each level there's a teacher's handbook and a student workbook. For the older edition, you've got the teacher's resource incorporated into the student manual, so it's only the one book for the older edition. Okay, so I'll show you the teacher's handbook first. At the start, there's a summary of the content for the year. So as you can see, Unit 1 is grammar and Unit 2 is composition. So it doesn't cover all of English. In the lower primary levels, you'll need to also teach phonics, spelling, handwriting, reading, and I would guess that most families will be prioritising these other areas in the younger years and won't actually have the space for a formal grammar and writing program. And that's completely fine. There's heaps of review in each level, and skills are built so incrementally that you can start at, say, level 2 or 3 and cope fine. Similarly, if you decide to take a break from this program for a year to focus on other areas, you can jump back into the correct grade level without feeling overwhelmed by the content. In the older primary years, you'll need to also supplement with literature studies. This program does offer literature for years 7 and up, but before then you'll need to supplement with your own. Here we have an explanation of all the icons that are used within the student workbook. So there's identify, apply, and toolbox, which I'll explain when we have a look at the workbook later. And here's a summary of the writing process that they teach in this curriculum. So there's brainstorm, organize, draft, revise, and publish. I love this approach. Often, when a student receives a writing task, they give one of two responses. 1, they stare blankly into space, completely overwhelmed by the task, not knowing where to start. Or 2, they want to put pen to paper straight away, and they end up with an incoherent mess. This writing process is helpful for both types of students. It teaches the struggling student a step-by-step approach that makes writing achievable, and it gives them a great sense of accomplishment when they discover that they actually are able to produce something. It also shows the overly keen student how to slow down, plan, and organize their thoughts. Then there's the extra practice and the resource folder, which I'll also explain a bit later. So let's have a look at the scope and sequence for level 4. In the level 4, there's 80 lessons, so you'll have to do 2 lessons a week to get it done in 1 year. So in the grammar phase, there's complete subjects and predicates, simple subjects, simple predicates, compound subjects, compound predicates, common and proper nouns, singular and plural nouns, singular possessive nouns, plural possessive nouns, pronouns and antecedents, adjectives, action verbs, linking verbs, helping verbs, adverbs that modify verbs, prepositional phrases, subject-verb agreement, and in level 4 they've identified a common problem for this age group, and that's the misuse or the confusion between don't and doesn't. So they've got a lesson allocated specifically for this. Then there's writing titles, adjectives in action, action verbs in action, adverbs in action, prepositional phrases in action, vivid language, reviewing types of sentences, independent clauses, compound sentences, dependent clauses, complex sentences, incomplete thoughts, run-on sentences, and figurative language. So there's a lot of grammar here. Then we move on to the composition section, and they're reviewing the writing process and the paragraph overview. So in level 3, students are taught to write paragraphs, and so they're reviewing this here in the different forms of writing. So they've got a descriptive paragraph, expository paragraph, persuasive paragraph, then it moves on to writing a news article, a narrative, persuasive personal letter, and then it moves on to expository essay. So in level 4, you're moving from writing a paragraph to writing an essay. And in this level, an essay is a 4-paragraph essay. So you have an introductory paragraph, 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. And at the end of the year, you finish with a research project. This is an optional weekly planner. It's 34 weeks here because this is an American curriculum. We have a few more weeks in our school year, so we can take a more relaxed approach. Then we come to the answers. I'll just show you the answers when it comes to the compositions. Okay, so when it comes to compositions, they have provided sample paragraphs and essays. These are the writing samples that the teacher demonstrates in the videos. You can see the draft, the edit, and the final copy. These are really helpful when you're not sure what to be looking for in your students' compositions. This gives you an idea as to how long the piece of writing should be, how complex the sentences should be, how varied the vocabulary should be, and so on. So let's now have a look at the student workbook. So the way you do these lessons is you watch a video and then you do the corresponding pages in the workbook. I really like the videos. They're short and to the point. Mr. Stevens is engaging and enthusiastic. He demonstrates every step of the writing process, and having a video means my child gets to have a break from listening to my voice all day long. So I'll turn to the first lesson on subjects and predicates. And here I can explain the icons that were used in the teacher's resource. So here's the identify icon. So in this identify phase, students learn to identify parts of speech in written language. In this lesson, it's subjects and predicates. So you've got a series of sentences here, and the students are asked to draw a line and separate the subject and predicate, and then underline the complete subject. Then you've got the apply icon next. So in the apply stage, the student applies parts of speech in their own writing. So instead of identifying parts of speech in what is already written, they now need to come up with their own. So here they need to insert either a subject or a predicate. These are individual sentences here, and then now they do it in a paragraph. And they obviously need to make sure that the words they put in here make sense as a whole. I'll quickly show you the toolbox, which is one of the other icons. So in the grammar section, this icon shows that this is an important skill to learn for effective written communication. When the student sees this toolbox again in the composition component of the course, it provides a visual cue to remind them to think back on the skills, or should I say tools, they have learnt and apply it to their piece of writing. So, for example, when you see this icon in the revision phase of your persuasive writing piece, you'll be prompted to think, what adverbs can I be using? What interesting adjectives can I use? Can I use any figurative language here? Can I improve the sentence structure? So all the things that I've learnt before, how can I use them here to improve my draft? So we'll have a little bit of a closer look at the writing process now. So I'll use this example. They're doing the persuasive paragraph unit here, and here's the brainstorm icon. In the brainstorm step, you're brainstorming ideas for your topic, unless you're given a prompt. So in this one, you're given a prompt, you're given the topic, so you don't need to think of it, but obviously you'll need to think of what you want to include in your paragraph or your essay. Then you've got the organize icon here, and they've given you a graphic organizer to help you organize your thoughts. So they're asking here for 2 details and an example to support each detail. And once you have this, it's much easier to come up with an opening and a closing sentence for your paragraph. Then you have the drafting phase. I think most people are pretty comfortable with picking a topic and writing down ideas, but when it comes to this writing step, that's when people, including adults, lose confidence. They think that they have to wait for an inspired moment and that what they put down needs to be eloquent, beautiful, and complex. This is not the point of the drafting stage. At this stage, the only aim is to put your thoughts down in full sentences. Eloquence comes later in the editing stage. And when you put it like that, it suddenly becomes much more achievable. Then you have the revise phase here with the revise icon. And like I said before, here's the toolbox. So you think about all the things you've learnt before and use it here to improve your writing. And the revision happens in 3 phases. You revise word choice, you revise sentence structure, and a bit later on, you revise mechanics. So things like capitalization, punctuation, and spelling. They've given an example of how they've improved a particular sentence here. So in the draft, it says, this makes you a well-rounded person because you broaden your horizons when you try something new. They've revised it to, new experiences create a well-rounded person because they broaden horizons. Then you have the final draft, and then the checklist. So this is a checklist for the child first to do themselves, and it helps them to identify areas that might be missing in their topic, in their writing, that they can improve on even more. So they're looking for things like, did you introduce your topic and attempt to persuade the reader? Is your topic stated clearly? Does your body contain argumentative details to support your topic? Do you give examples of your details? Are your arguments strong and descriptive? Does your closing sentence bring the paragraph to a successful close? Do you have a clear beginning, middle, and end? Do you use transition words between details and examples? Did you use vivid language to improve communication? Did you stay on topic? This is a big one for kids in grade 4. I think it's pretty common for kids to start writing about things that are not quite relevant to their thesis. And then again, checking their mechanics now that they've done their final draft. How's their spelling, capitalization, and punctuation? This extra practice features at the end of every composition unit, and this is just an extra prompt for the child if they want to have a second go at writing the same type of writing, so another persuasive paragraph before they move on to the next one, which is writing a news article. The other thing that was in the resource book was the resource folder, so I'll show you that now. So from lesson 26 onwards, if I can find it, the child is encouraged to create their own resource folder with discarded words and new words that they can use. So they're building a resource, a word bank for themselves to use for future writing. They've given a few examples here in the earlier grammar sections. So when they're teaching adjectives, they've got beware, dangerous, words ahead. Some adjectives have been used too much in speech and writing. As a result, they aren't effective in describing nouns. Use the thesaurus to replace adjectives that are common or boring. So instead of saying my teacher is funny, you can use my teacher is hilarious. Other words for funny you can use might be amusing, hilarious, whimsical, witty, and comical. Then for action verbs, instead of these overused, boring verbs, you can replace them with more interesting ones. So instead of go, you can write travel, journey, leave, escape, proceed. So with all the writing that they're doing in every unit, they're adding to their resource folder, adding more words that they can be using to improve their writing. Okay, so would I recommend this curriculum? Yes, I would. I really like this writing program. I would recommend it to just about everyone. The videos are fantastic, and I love the way Mr. Stevens models each step of the writing process. He demystifies what is often a daunting subject for children and turns it into a fun and easy task. Students feel a great sense of achievement when they produce pieces of writing that they never knew they could. I also love that grammar is taught not just for the sake of grammar, but is applied to the compositions in the second section of the course. You'll notice that I said I would recommend it to just about everyone. So who am I excluding from this group? Students who are naturally gifted at writing might find this program frustrating. They may feel stifled by the prescriptive step-by-step nature of this course and find the constant revision and reinforcement unnecessary. Students of this nature may find a better fit with programs such as Moving Beyond the Page or Michael Clay Thompson, which are written specifically for gifted students. Brave Writer, though not specifically for advanced learners, might also suit better with a more free-flowing style for creative thinkers. Okay, well that's all from me today. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave comments below, and thanks for watching.